Hey folks, welcome to the Mike Lopez TV Show. I'm your host, ACMike. We'll bring you all things Atlantic City and our local region. Politics, sports, dining, entertainment, and so much more. On today's show, we'll be joined by JEBTAM Publishing, featuring John Kuehner, President and Founder, and Alyssa Kuehner, Chief Creative Officer. Stick around, we'll be right back. Hey folks, welcome back to the show. We're here with our guests today, JEBTAM Publishing, featuring John Kuehner, President and Founder, and Alyssa Kuehner, Chief Creative Officer. Folks, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Mike. Thanks for having us.
A pleasure having you guys out here. Listen, before we get into the meats and potatoes of this JEBTAM Publishing and what it's all about, Alyssa, tell us a little bit about yourself and prior to getting here, what's your interest in, and you know, just what you do with Pop here.
Oh gosh, well, we run a small boutique marketing firm together. It's a family-run business. Yes.
Right. So, yeah, John, I mean, just get into it a little bit about what you're doing. First of all, tell us a little bit about your background.
Yes, I'm John Kuehner. I founded JEBTAM Publishing actually back in 2019. So it's been around for a while. Started out as an investment opportunity, but for me, I'm an engineer by training. Actually run another company. I run a gasket manufacturing company in Pennsylvania. And like I said, this started out as an investment opportunity, but as we'll get into it, it morphed into something much more, and now I work it with my daughter, Alyssa. It's kind of a really cool situation.
How do you two break up the jobs of it? And tell us what you do, Alyssa, and I'm sure you both feed into each other, but
Yeah.
What is your niche, so to speak?
Well, as you can probably tell by my awkward pause in the beginning there, I'm much more used to being behind the camera. We do a lot of different things with our business, but I handle pretty much anything creative that comes in our laps. So anything from brand identity creation, logo design. I also produce several podcasts, which I'm sure you're familiar with at this point.
We'll be talking about that.
Absolutely. A lot of things of that nature. I also do a lot of our social media management. Basically anything that you could think of that could fall under the umbrella of creative within marketing is me.
And education-wise, I mean, was this something that you were into back in your high school and college days?
Not at all. I thought I was pre-med in college, and that didn't last very long, but I was an EMT for a couple of years. But after COVID, you know, life happens, made a couple job switches. I was managing a small business, and my dad fell into what became the start of JEBTAM and needed some help with social media. So I started helping him there, and it kind of ballooned from there.
Right, and the social media, and I'm on social media, but I do not claim to be a social media expert in any stretch of the imagination. When you bring in your expertise, John, you know, from engineering, you touched on it a little there. Talk to us about how it all relates, you know, the overall, because it's you're running a company, so I'm sure there was multiple people, probably dozens, if not hundreds of them, and now it's the two of you working with clients. I mean, how did that transition?
You know, I think a good way to kind of get into that is to tell you how it started. Right. So back in 2018, I'd been in the corporate world for about 35 years. I was VP of operations for a chemical company for a long time, doing a lot of M&A and due diligence and things like that. And a lot of that, believe it or not, I always loved marketing. It kind of sounds weird, right? I'm a technical engineer, but I love the marketing aspect of, believe it or not, marketing what we do from the operations side of things. So I left that. I was in that for a long time. Things worked out pretty well, and I went out to do some consulting, and I founded JEBTAM Consulting, LLC, back in 2018. Now, JEBTAM is the first and middle initial of all of our names. So it's my first and middle initial, hers, and my wife's. That's where JEBTAM came from. So we started with JEBTAM Consulting. I did that for a few years, and then, you know, some life changes. I mean, I had, you know, my dad passed away, and the consulting business, while it's great, you know what's difficult about that is collecting.
Yeah.
Right? So I was being recruited, and we were living in New York, looking for a house in Pennsylvania because we wanted to move here. She was at Drexel University at the time. And I got a call from a recruiter. I wasn't looking for a job. Actually, I was looking for a company to buy. And I took the call for some reason. I actually called him back. And maybe it was my dad telling me call him back, but he said, are you interested in relocating? I said, where? He said, how about Exton, Pennsylvania? And that's just where we were looking for houses the day before. It was like this sign from above, I guess. So I went and met with the owner. He was looking for somebody to run one. He owned 7 companies, looking for somebody to run one of his 7 companies. And it worked out really well. So instead of buying a company, I got to run one and didn't have to invest my own money in it. So it worked out pretty well. So I did that. So I'm doing that, still doing that now, even after 8 years. But during that first year, I was looking for investment opportunities, and I bought revenue-generating websites, and it was a passive investment opportunity. And you know, for a lot of reasons, that passive investment opportunity became less passive over time. Some things happened with that investment, and it wound up becoming a pretty active type opportunity. So, you know, with my background in engineering, you know, I had a background in process control engineering where I was programming chemical reactors to automate them. And so I started getting into the back end of some of these websites that I bought and kind of learning how they worked. Started learning how to code websites, and that past background I had in engineering translated really well. So I started doing a lot of the technical things. I took over the websites myself. I have a partner in Atlanta that we work with in this as well. And over time, some things began. I started to build this skill set. And I said, you know, there's more we can do. Big part of the websites is email marketing. And a big part of what we do is on the social media side, right? So we have these websites, and we also, you know, we produce newsletters every day, and then we have large social media platforms as well. And so I needed somebody to run that, so I brought Alyssa in. And seeing her skill set, you know, she was great with social media, just creative as all get out. Opportunities just started to come to mind. We could grow this into something bigger. So that's kind of how JEBTAM started. So she started out just doing social media, but now it kind of morphed into more really hardcore marketing. She's tremendous with clients. When she sits down in front of a client, they love working with her. She just has a way about her. So I'm not bragging on my daughter here, but she is. It's pretty cool to watch her go. And you know, when we sit down with a client, and Mike, you're a client, we sit down with you, I kind of let her do most of the talking because she's so creative. She's got a great way about her, and people just love working with her.
Listen,
So, yeah.
and that's awesome to go back and forth. But to you, Alyssa, again, we are in the midst of social media, and it's been for a couple decades now. But more importantly, marketing, business-wise, and you know, so when you're talking to a guy like me, I mean, familiar with it, you know, the importance of it. I mean, how do you stress that? Because to be quite honest, a lot of folks, even that I still talk to, I was like, no, it's just very, very important. And this may sound obvious, but to some of our viewers, it's not. The importance of something like that, whether it's a pizzeria, whether it's a PR firm, or what I'm doing, or some of the others. Talk to us a little bit about that, the importance of it, to have that platform.
Yeah, so that's it's such an interesting time right now with marketing because we're so inundated with ads and everything. Everyone's so tired of being pushed in the face with ads. But at the same time, to go with your pizza example, if you make the best pizza in Atlantic City, how are people gonna know about that if you're not putting it out there? If you don't have a social media presence these days, if you don't have people talking about your product, not just word of mouth, but actually getting it out there to the people who get that in front of people, whether that's social media or other different forms of ads. I'm phrasing this very poorly because, again, I'm more comfortable behind the camera.
No, it's fine, trust me. No rocket scientists here.
Without the marketing to actually get your product in front of people, whether that product is the pizza that we're talking about or even just your personality, you're not going to find your audience, you're not going to find the people you want to engage with. And that's just so important. If you want to follow your passion, you can't follow your passion if people aren't going to come to it.
Traditionally, you know, I mean, there's still radio, right? I mean, it's something I do on the side as well. But, you know, and then the paper, I mean, that was something that we grew up and seen the ads. Yeah. And again, this is where they're going because, again, my client base is a little bit older, right? So it shocks me all the time when I start looking and respond to some of the comments and, hey, Mike, where do I find this? Or thank you for that, and that sort of thing. So I kind of like do a little vetting and just to see who's, you know, what there. And it's amazing that they're our age, but it's starting to, what I see is grow and get more familiar, whether it's TikTok. I've literally, I think it was a few weeks ago, 3 or 4 people asked me, Mike, are you on TikTok? And I'm looking and I'm thinking to find a 20-year-old asking me, and it wasn't. It was someone my age. So it's starting to get out there, but it's so important. And again, folks just think it's whether something it's negative or it's political or it's that. You gotta get the word out, as Alyssa said, and that's the importance. And you're tied in, John. I want to come back to the websites and that sort of thing, what you're doing the behind the scenes, being able, because what you've done with mine is amazing. Again, being able to just see how it works, how the folks are clicking in. Talk to us a little bit about that, the intricacies of the numbers, so to speak.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So, with AI today, right? Everybody averages, oh, AI can build you a website in 90 seconds, right? Well, not really. It can, but it's not going to be anything that's really, really functional. And, there's so many small businesses out there today, small startups that want to have an online presence. They want to have a website. And I call the website your central repository for everything that you do. So you have social media, every social media platform. You can advertise, you can do Google ads. But you really, you need every organization, every business has a website, right? That's where everything resides. I mean, we kind of push you, ACMikeNJ.com. That's where we have everything funneled to. A lot of businesses want that, but they don't know how to do it. And there's so many, and we cater to that small business. We're not gonna build a website for Microsoft. We're not gonna do that.
But we could.
Well, or Ticketmaster. They're talking about massive types of. But these small, like being this small boutique type organization, we can cater to that small business that doesn't have a lot of cash flow, doesn't have any cash flow, doesn't have a lot of money. We can help them get started. We can teach them, how to manage it on their own. So, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we make sure that the client has complete control. So, if for example a client becomes unhappy with us, they could lock us out tomorrow. We always give them that ability. But we teach them also how to manage their own sites and how to manage their own social media so that they're independent and they can kind of do what they need to do so that they're not locked into us. Mm-hmm. We want them to stay with us for sure. And I think because of that trust that we build with our client base, that happens. But yeah, your website is your central repository for everything that you do.
And to your point, John, we got about 2 minutes here, and Alyssa, you could jump in as well. So when you're saying it's the central repository, it's everything, right? Is there such a thing as too much on it? Or is that about pages? I mean, so our viewers kind of understand, is it a certain page, the menu, clicks or whatnot, or everything could be put in a, in a different format on another website? You would want it on one, is what I'm trying to say. But
well, you want it on one, but I think, the structure of the website, when you try to build your website so that it's optimized for search engines, how you structure that website and the content that you put on it so that it's linked together is really important. So that's why you say, well, I will only build a custom coded website. There's so much more flexibility. There's the ability to do kind of anything that you want. There's any type of technical challenges can be done with a custom coded website, as opposed to one that you build with Wix or some other block builder, or let AI build you a website on GoDaddy Arrow or things like that. I think it's really important for small businesses can do that, but these startups, if they really want something that's of value, and I think we've kind of shown that to you, having it custom coded, having it thought out in advance, having it organized properly so that it's search engine optimized, so that traffic goes to it organically is really important, and that's kind of what we do.
Right.
So yeah.
30 seconds. So when we come back, we're going to take a quick break, John and Alyssa, and you touched on it briefly, AI, the importance of it, the not to depend on it, all of it, but the creative part of it, and then you touched on, and it's kind of what we did too, our own taste and touch. But a lot of folks today are horrified, scared. I don't even know what the right word is, but calm, cool. We'll talk about that when we get back. Folks, we'll be right back with John and Alyssa Kuehner, JEBTAM Publishing. Thank you. We'll be right back. Hey, folks, welcome back to the show. We're back with John and Alyssa Kuehner, JEBTAM Publishing. John, when we went into the first break, we were talking a little bit about AI, the hesitation of folks wanting to use it, the gosh, taboo sort of the thing, this big thing, talk to us about it first, about that, and then the importance of it and how it can work in what you're doing, what we're doing, what the folks at home are doing, maybe not even with a website or whatnot, but sure. Just what AI.
Well, so I've used AI every day for about the last 6 years. And so I think where that fear comes from is from the movies, right? Cyberdyne systems are going to take over the world and machines are going to destroy the planet. It's not like that. And I think while there is some, there can be some concern with, how AI could advance in the future. I don't see it that way. I see it as a tool. And if you learn it, if you learn and understand it enough, and you use it as a tool, not as a replacement, it's really powerful. And you hear commercials today that AI is going to create, I don't know how many millionaires. And it is, because it increases your capacity to do things. You think of it like having a set of world-class experts in any category. Doesn't mean it can't give you the wrong answer, but it means that you need to triangulate and kind of think about the answers that it's giving you and make sure that you're prompting it properly. Get into a lot of that, but I don't know, Alyssa, what do you think about that? I mean, it certainly, we probably wouldn't be able to do what we do without it.
Very much so. So it's a very nuanced topic, and I think it's a little more, there's definitely the fear that Skynet's going to take over the world. I'm definitely in that camp. I think it's going to happen. That's why I'm always nice to Alexa. But I think the environmental impact is definitely a concern. But I think with anything, AI is such a powerful tool, and it's something that's so impactful on so many people that we're going to hopefully figure out how to minimize the environmental impact, especially for something that thousands and millions, and I don't even know the numbers, millions and millions of people are using every single day from everything for like, how do I make a cake, to how do I solve world hunger? Maybe it'll be the tool that helps us figure out how to solve cancer. But to this day, we call ourselves a boutique company. We're 2 people that handle it with a couple of outside contractors who help us out and our clients. We would not have the capacity to help the amount of people that we do if we did not have AI to help us as a tool. And it goes through so many iterations, AI. It's the generative AI and the art of it all is very, very concerning. But on the flip side, I'm going to out myself as how much of a nerd I am here. I'm a D&D player, and I love that game. I'm not a person who can afford to commission $100, $200, $300 portraits for all of my D&D characters, but using generative AI, I can have a quick little sketch of what my character looks like, and that's not something I would have had access to before. Right. The implications of stolen art are there, but I think it's something you got to use against your own morality code. It's a little, complicated and nuanced, but you got to figure out what works for you.
What works for you, John?
I think that, look, technology moves a lot faster than regulatory, right? And I think AI is something that needs to be regulated properly,
right?
Because it does get used for nefarious reasons, with the ability to kind of create a video of anybody saying anything or doing anything. That's kind of dangerous. So those regulations are kind of, it needs to be regulated properly. But I'll say this. AI is here and it's coming, it's not going away. And I think if you don't embrace it today, you're going to fall behind tomorrow. And so I think it's a matter of really understanding the technology, understanding how it can be used properly, how it's a tool. AI in schools, I think, we're here at a university, that's, I'm not quite sure how they handle it in universities, but it's something that has, that not just regulatory, but the social aspects of AI need to kind of come along with it and be handled properly, because it is a tool that's not going away. It's pretty powerful if it's used right.
Right, and when you talk to regulatory and whatnot, I want to say the fast tracking. That seems like we're a nation, or maybe a world of fast tracking. Whether it's AI, whether it's legal marijuana, you know what I mean? Yeah. Before the laws and what were laid out, and how are we going to check this if we get a pullover? So, do you see that? And again, not to get political, but we're going to get a little bit where the politicians, so to speak, public servants, will monetize or get their hands in it. And it's just an opinion of what your thoughts, what that looks like, or will that be something statewide, or again, just your thoughts.
I think any technology can be politicized, right? And used for bad things, right? I think that the biggest concern, and this is something I'm not really heavily in tune with because of my age and how long I've been out of school. But I think, I think teachers need to learn how to use AI to teach, right? And I think in the classroom, I think I think when I went through engineering school, I would have loved to have, and a few years ago I said, man, I would love to have had YouTube. When I was in it, there's no problem you can't find that on YouTube that they've already solved. And now with AI, I think, man, what if I had this ability back when I was in school going to engineering school, man, the acceleration in learning is phenomenal. Now the danger is, students using that as a crutch and not really learning the content. And I think, as younger people, I think, maybe the danger is losing the skill of critical thinking. How many people in the world today think the world is flat? It's staggering. I mean, I can't believe people think that. People think we didn't really land on the moon because YouTube has become so powerfll. And now with the advent of AI and the ability to kind of make really, really realistic videos, you got a bunch of idiots out in the online space, misleading young people today, and it's dangerous. It's really dangerous. And I know they're doing it for clicks. I don't think a lot of these people believe what they're putting out there. Some of these guys who spew some of this nonsense are really intelligent people. It's all for monetization, I'm sure, but it's dangerous. And that's the danger of the technology, in my opinion.
The shock and all, and get the clicks, like you said.
Yeah.
Alyssa, again, you're out of school for a little time now, though. Was it something that you dealt with? I mean, not only AI, computers and whatnot in the classroom, again, because it was something totally foreign to me. A couple sisters that are teachers, and what they said was like, man, the phones and the computers are great, but there needs to be that interaction. And that's what I love what you guys do at JEBTAM Publishing, because we use these tools, but we don't rely on them solely.
Yeah. I am lucky to be that very narrow window of the Gen Z millennial, where I kind of grew up with cell phones, but not smartphones until I was just a little bit older. And I grew up with the internet, but not to the point where it was so saturated with all of the things it is today, where parental controls were so navigable like they are now. I didn't have social media growing up for the majority of my young life. I didn't get a Facebook until I was, 14? Something like that.
Right, yeah.
I was almost entering high school. It was a part of my life. It was something I learned to navigate fluently very easily in a different way than my parents did and people of an older generation did. But it wasn't as harmful as it is now. I've read an interesting book called The Anxious Generation, and right now I cannot remember the author's name. I will have to look that up. But it was all about how the interaction of social media today really affects the way that people's brains are, the way that they spend hours and hours of this on their phones. It's just not something I had to do. But with that being said, I did get to come up with AI and learn how it works as it was being established. And I think that did a lot for our business, because I figured out how to use ChatGPT to handle the basic administrative duties that would have taken 6 hours of my day now only take me 30 minutes. So that's the kind of thing that really helps empower small business owners like us to be able to get so much more done with a tool like that when it's used properly, when it's checked by a human to make sure that it's not just spewing whatever random stuff you need. It's a very powerful tool.
That's why we rule.
Very much so.
And human. So we're going to pivot a little bit, but this is something we're going to continue on our podcast, and we're going to talk about podcasting and that sort of little bit. We've got about 5 minutes here. Let's dive into that a little bit. Again, another important, and it's taken over, whether it's YouTube or different platforms, to be able to sit and talk kind of what we're doing there. And it's a great tool, I call it a tool, to have all the platforms here, TV, radio, whatever it may print, but podcasting. Let's dive into that. We got a few minutes.
Everybody has a podcast these days, right? But it's, one of the things we're seeing in our business is there's a lot of, because we Alyssa had her own podcast for a while. We produce Ring the Damn Bell. She produces that for us, a sports podcast. But we get requests, a lot of requests for people wanting podcasts. Don't quite know how to go about doing it. And that seems to be the #1 request these days. So I don't get a lot of, not as many requests for website builds or social media. It's podcasting.
Everyone wants a podcast.
Everybody wants a podcast. And, it's certainly saturated, but there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. But it is a great platform. It is a great media. And I know you, obviously, just thinking about your situation, I think it gives it gives people the ability to explore things that you can't in certain other medias like radio or TV. It's unfiltered, it's kind of raw at times, and it is what you want it to be, which is kind of cool. And with technology today, yeah, anybody can have one. Most people do them wrong,
Right.
but anybody can almost have. Everyone's a podcast today. There's a lot of them.
2 minutes left, and we're going to go to you, Alyssa. So, in the background, like you said, like being behind the camera and working with myself, John, and other clients as well. You know, your expertise and what do you see, and just the fluidity and how to get that rolling. Where did that come from, and the importance of that too? Because everybody wants to do one, but we don't know how to.
Well, it all started when I started my own podcast with a couple of friends, and I did absolutely everything wrong that I possibly could have. I filmed it on my phone with no audio equipment in a very, very hard, square, small room, so the echo was insane. My first few episodes were a hot mess, but you know, like with anything else, you don't learn how to do it right without doing it wrong several times, or you know, more than several times first. I made all the mistakes myself so that now that we're taking this to clients, that it's not just something we do for ourselves, although we still do. That's one thing that's really fun about being a small business is we are also our own clients. We produce our own podcasts for things that we're interested in. Like my dad here mentioned, he has a sports podcast that I produce. It's just a process of iterating and learning what works, especially because I'm basically a one-woman show behind the camera for most of our podcasts. I do our audio, I do our camera, I do our editing, I do all of that fun stuff all by myself for the most part, with some help from my dad when I need the support. It's fun, it just takes...
Doesn't let me edit very
time.
often.
No, he's been fired from that job a few times.
I'm not a DaVinci Resolve master like she is.
Yeah, this guy was like, you know what, putting the sound clip with the video is too much, so I'm just gonna not use the sound. That didn't go well.
That's great. That's great. And folks, I'm going to point this out to you. Be subscribed to that podcast, Ring the Damn Bell podcast. It's going to be a great one. So guys, listen, 30 seconds to the last of the year, you know, tell folks what you want them to hear. You know, again, we'll put up the website and that sort. But again, the importance of it all, it really is important because I believe in it. This is something that I wasn't trained in, media and PR and whatnot, but going to school and learning a little bit and then coming to the small business, the academy, and Stockton University was actually a big part of it and what I do. The importance of, again, one more time, let folks know.
Yeah, you know, most of what we do for ourselves, and we built the skill set by doing it for ourselves, whether it's building websites, social media, podcasting, advertising, business consulting. So I did business consulting for about 3 years as well. So you know, if you're a small business and you're a startup or you're a small business and you want to increase your online presence, you want to increase your reach over different platforms, you know, we can help because we consider ourselves a boutique to cater to that small business in a really cost-effective way, and we'll work with clients in a very personal way too. So we don't, you know, we do everything ourselves. We do have some external help that we can go to for capacity reasons, but if you come to us, you're going to deal with either me or Alyssa, probably both of us. So yeah.
Alyssa, John, I want to thank you for coming out, taking the time from your day to talk to us a little bit. I can assure, and I stamped that 100% ACMike approved, and I mean that when I say that because this is something that I had thought about for maybe 8, 9, 10 years, podcast, just didn't know how to do it, to be honest with you, and made a lot of mistakes until Alyssa's point. One thing is, making mistakes, it's okay. It's okay to fail because what it does is create the right way to do it. So, John, Alyssa, I want to thank you again for coming out. Appreciate you taking the time to join us here in the studio at Stockton University. Folks, we'll be right back. Hey folks, it's our belief here on the Mike Lopez TV show that you, the viewers and our guests, bring the show to life. Thanks to each and every one of you for joining us. To learn more about ACMike, go to acmikeNJ.com. On Facebook, you can check me out at ACMike, Mike Lopez, and on Instagram at ACMikeNJ. If you enjoyed watching today's show, you can also listen to my radio show on 1400, 92.3, WONDradio.com on the World Wide Web, Monday through Friday, noon till 1 p.m. Always remember to live, work, play AC, and I'll see you on the 48.